everyone. My name is Joanna Bowser, and I'm the Director of Marketing here at ClearVoice. And for today's ClearVoice Spotlight, I'm here with Jeff Cook, the General Manager. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks for hopping on today and for connecting with us. We have some questions for you today. That's just going to be a conversation, so you can relax. Everybody's cool. But I do want to talk to you a little bit about what you do here and how you lead the team at ClearVoice, from your perspective, both as a leader at the company, but then also in partnership with our parent company, Fiverr. So you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Awesome. Cool. So you're the general manager. It's a kind of a newer title that I've been seeing in the marketplace over the past 5 years. I don't know if that's been your experience, because it's always been like president, VP, or like kind of C-level. And now there's this new general manager title. But I guess my first question is, like, tell us a little bit about what that means to you and what that means as far as like what you do on a day-to-day basis here at ClearVoice.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, every position, every company is named a little bit differently, but ultimately, this position is really comes down to a couple of things. One, set the overall vision and strategy of the organization, and then two, be the primary financial steward of both top line revenue and bottom line revenue, and make sure we're as and healthy as and as effective as we can be for our customers.
Sure. Awesome. So I know that you were a big fan of Ted Lasso.
Of course, who
uh,
isn't?
Yeah, oh, of course. That's fair. That's a fair thing. Tell me a little bit about your leadership philosophy and your approach to managing teams in the workspace.
Yeah, my philosophy really kind of was crafted from my own experience and some of the leaders that I've had in my career, and the things that I thought they did really well. And really, I think any great leader in today's world and ecosystems really have three. For me, at least, it's three things. One, it's inclusion and transparency. I think it's almost necessary these days to share the good and the bad, whatever that may be. But ultimately, people just want to be in the know. It's a sign of respect, and obviously, if they're the right people, they can handle that bad with the good. Secondly, I think it's collaboration, right? It's making sure that your team is included. They're part of the solutions. They're part of the decision making. Ultimately, everyone has to come to their own conclusion that this is the best way to move forward. Otherwise, motivation's misaligned and there's built-in excuses. So ultimately, collaboration is super, super important. And then the last thing I think is empowerment, right? So everybody has their KPIs and their roles and their responsibilities. And if those expectations are clearly aligned, I think empowerment of that, the ability to make decisions on your own, whatever you think, whatever you think is right, is super important. And ultimately, if you fail, that's fine. Fail fast, learn from it, and then move forward with your adjustments. But owning that is a big thing, and being empowered to make the right decisions in that process.
Sure. So you've worked in a bunch of different industries, right? So, and I know content marketing and marketing was, um, you hadn't been in this industry for, I mean, I think in the past you had done some things around marketing, but had taken it some time away and then coming back into this space. I'm curious what gets you excited about like the current landscape of content marketing.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll even, yeah, to your point, to bring it up even, above content marketing, I think just marketing teams in general, like the landscape's changing right before our eyes. I think we're, for a variety of reasons, macroeconomic, other things, marketing teams are being asked to do a lot more with a lot less, right? We've seen it, in your own world, right, here at CV marketing team, of me saying, Joanna, we have 35% less resources and budget. Let's get creative and figure out how we can do more, and be more efficient, in that process. And you've been successful in that, right? And producing 30% more with 30% less. And part of the ways you've been able to do that is really looking at your marketing machine. Where are the holes? How can I flex function? How can I get freelance talent to fill some of those holes, and ultimately save on some of those expenses and have the scalability and the flexibility that you need? So to me, I think we're just at the precipice of that revolution. Right, we had the remote work revolution. I think we're having the flex function revolution, where these teams are going to be forced to look at those creative and efficient ways to do their work. And so that's what excites me most, because I think ClearVoice is set up to help in those scenarios.
Sure. When you think about the future of work and some of that kind of fractional resourcing and things like that, is there any sort of emerging perspective or philosophy you have around like how a leader might approach that for their organization?
Yeah, I think ultimately people make buying decisions on, people that can make their lives easier and provide value to them, right? And I think in the scenario where you're asked to produce more with less money or less headcount or less resources or whatever you want to call it, anybody that can offer that value prop and make my life easier and make my profit line stronger, or be able to do something that traditionally costs X and I can do it for Y with the same or more results. I think there's tremendous value there. So that's and we've had that in our world too. Vendors that have come to me and said, similar type story, and that's as a general manager looking at kind of that whole picture, that's a really compelling story and value prop.
Awesome. Cool. Are there any industries that you've worked in previously that really influence the work that you do here?
Yeah, so I think one experience that I think is super interesting and relevant is I worked for a company called ZyroTalk, which was an AI messaging platform before AI was cool, before AI chatbots and text bots and voice bots were the thing. So it was really interesting and relevant to the content space of what industries made sense for that, what industries didn't make sense for that, what applications, and I think we're going through a similar experience here in content. And we know obviously we've seen a tremendous uptick in industries like finance and other things where like compliance and fact checking, and that's super 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 important and not necessarily super reliable when it comes to AI or potentially. So we're just kind of shifting our focus and what makes sense for industries that make sense for those types of solutions, and what makes sense for solutions like ours where it's either AI plus human or just human as well. So I think going through that experience with ZyroTalk, it was almost like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a premonition as to like what we're experiencing today. Very similar.
Sure. So you were already kind of prepped for some of those conversations we started having internally. I mean, not the like marketplace changing, challenging conversations, but just sort of like understanding the landscape in a different way.
Yeah, for sure. Everything that's literally happened today happened 6 years ago in the messaging space. So
Right.
there's a lot of alignment there.
Sure. Awesome. Um, I think as you reflect it in yourself, are there any skills or experience that you are especially proud of?
I think the thing that I guess I'm most proud of, and just in the most work I've put in and the most reading I've done about, and the thing that I've tried to improve the most in is just emotional IQ, right? Some of those soft skills that I think is necessary to be a leader. I think the days of having, being a one trick pony and, hey, I'm the boss and you're going to adjust to me. I think those days are over. So I think some of the skills that the best leaders in today's world have are the ability to adapt and motivate on an individual basis and a situational basis. So read a ton of books around that. I think that's something I've improved in. I think any emerging leader or somebody that wants to become a leader should invest in that type of education, because I think that is, if not number one, a top three trait that the best leaders have.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually, because I mean, that I just got my master's in leadership and management, and some of my favorite courses were actually breaking down the different leadership styles and sort of the ins and outs and of those. And I found that even it developed myself as a leader just reading about the different traits and like, what do I want to do? What do I not want to do? Or like, oh, in this interaction, there's like, I actually do need to bring this element here, even though it's not like my favorite, but it's what's going to be effective. Right. And so I definitely get that as far as like understanding the landscape and then sharpening the tools there.
Yeah, you got to be a chameleon, right? It's not about the person with the highest IQ. I literally think it's the person with the highest emotional IQ are the best leaders. If you have 10 direct reports, they all have 10 different goals and dreams and personalities and things that make them tick and things that drain their energy. And so you got to
Right.
really understand all of those things and adapt yourself to make sure you get the most out of everyone.
Yeah, absolutely cool. So how do you manage your own? Because that's a lot, right? That's a lot of like energetic output. How do you what's your self management routine, if you will, just to ensure that you're able to show up that way for your team?
I think parenting has been a huge
Like how
reminder
that
daily to practice that, right?
yeah.
So you got these little people that you gotta essentially manage and grow and get them to learn and fail and in the same way as employees. So I think that's a daily reminder. But again, it's just keeping up on the know and being educated by reading and talking to other leaders in the space. But it's just one of those things that you just have to. It's mandatory. So it's something that you just every day have to remind yourself of.
Yeah. Do you have a like one singular text or book that you would recommend to emerging leaders, or like start here kind of a
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah. Well, my favorite business book of all time is something called Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. And really what it comes down to is how to have difficult conversations and how to get what you want out of a conversation and how to understand the different personalities and hot points and what makes people tick and all of that and how to essentially have an effective, difficult conversation. Because a lot of times, those are the conversations that have the most impact. It's not the, hey, great job, you did wonderful. It's more of like, hey, here's where we need to grow, or here's where you need to improve, or
Yeah.
and having a difficult conversation that isn't easy, right? You don't want to just have easy conversations. You want to have the right ones that move the business or the person forward. So Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott is one I highly recommend.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining me today. It was a great conversation.
No problem. That was fun.
And for everybody tuning in, thanks for checking out the ClearVoice Employee Spotlight with Jeff Cook, our general manager. If you have any questions about content marketing or need content for your business, come visit us at www.clearvoice.com.